Welcome back. Today we're talking about color theory in regards to light and dark themes. Wow, it's been a while. First, I just want to say that I hope everyone is well and safe. The world is scary right now, and it disheartens me to see so many people be harmed and killed when it wasn't needed. If you're able, stay home and wear a mask. Protect others and protect yourselves. This pandemic going on, I don't see it ending anytime soon. We must stay strong and provide support for other people. In regards to the social issues that the world's facing currently, while these aren't new, maybe there is a new chance for people, young and old, to speak up and make their voices heard in support of those who haven't had that same opportunity. And I hope you take it. Now, you may be asking yourself, what relevancy does this have in regards to color theory and light and dark themes? And in all honesty, it doesn't. But there are more important things in the world than learning about how to change a light theme to a dark theme. But as designers and as developers, we should be held accountable for the things that we create. People all over the world use the things that we make, and we need to account for that when making designs and when building new technologies. Those same things have been used to oppress people for forever. And as new and young designers and developers are coming up with a fresh take on the world and a more understanding perspective, now is your time to make your voice heard, and the things that you choose to create, the designs you choose to make, the accessibility that you put forward, and remembering people and all that you create. That's the message that I hope you can take away from this short intro. And with that said, we can now begin to understand some color theory in regards to light and dark themes and some tips that I have for making it accessible and stylized. So, let's dive in. All right, well, as we get into this, we should take a look at the color wheel just for a little bit. I know if you're watching this, you may be familiar with it, and if you're not, this might be a good time to learn about it. The color wheel is a useful tool for understanding color. It provides you a easy way to look at the relationship the different colors have to each other. And you can use those relationships to create color palettes and to create different kinds of color harmonies. Now, there's tons of different tutorials online and guides for creating palettes and trying to figure out which type of color relationship to use, whether it's a monochromatic palette or a triad or complementary colors, whatever that may be. There are plenty of different options out there and no single right answer, so it is worth experimenting with. In this video, I want to talk about color in the context of shifting from one theme to another. So I don't want to go over how to create an actual color palette in this video. Maybe that'll be another video. In this video, I just really want to talk about how you take an existing palette that you already have and convert that to a dark theme or to a light theme. The things I have to share with you will work in either direction. It's all just conceptual knowledge. With that said, I do have some useful links, which again, you'll be able to access by downloading this slide from the description in the video. These links have great content for creating palettes, creating color relationships, as well as finding palettes that other people have already created. Now, if we look at the color wheel, we can notice a bunch of lines drawn here, and this shows a bunch of different relationships that you can have. One of the common misconceptions when you try and take, say, a light theme and convert it to a dark theme is just to invert colors, right? Look across the color wheel, do a literal color invert from black to white or white to black, and those just don't work in the real world. And that's why I have this note up here that maybe it's not so useful for UI work when looking at the traditional color wheel. This is not something that is specific to the UI world or to building applications. This is a tool that has been used by artists and painters of all kinds for just thousands of years. I mean, this thing's been around for forever. We need to consider the content of our application to really understand what colors to use and what kind of relationships we should be using. Because while we may find a pretty palette online, that doesn't mean it's a functional palette. As an example of that, let's look at what makes a palette unique and what makes a palette functional. When we create a dark palette from a light palette or vice versa, we don't want to just invert the colors. We can see in this first row, we've got a nice light palette with a primary white color, an accent color of this really nice blue, and then a dark blue used as accent piece or background pieces in this palette. Now to invert this, we would just change the white to a black, and we would change this darker accent color to be white. We keep our accent color because that is important to our application's branding. So in this case, we wouldn't invert that color, but that could be a common mistake too. Just make sure you keep the branding of your product consistent between your themes as well. Now, this is a problem. This is not creating a unique palette, and this is not going to keep the correct hierarchy of information visually when you shift these colors. You can create a dark and light palette that are unique while still maintaining your brand's consistency. You do that by adding and removing colors and using colors in specific places that isn't just an inverted version of an existing color. You use the colors smartly where they make sense in the context of your application. So you can see the bottom here is the same light palette, but we've shifted the colors and added a new primary color for our dark palette to really give this dark theme a unique variation, its own identity. And here's an example of that in an actual application. You can see our white theme with our white color, our blue accent, part of the branding, and then we've got those dark blues used for the sub details like this text up here. Really simple. You want to keep your palettes minimal. Don't be afraid to add in an array of grays or whites or blacks if you need them. We want to keep the main colors down to a minimal count to keep good visual consistency without adding a bunch of complexity that the user might not understand the meaning of. To shift that to the dark theme though, we add that additional color, which replaces the white. We don't go full black, we go to that dark blue, and we shift what was dark blue to its own unique kind of lightish blue-pink color that's used as the accent text here. We keep the branding colors because that's important for our application. We use that on the parts of the application that should draw the user's attention first and foremost, and we add small dashes of darker colors even in places where they didn't exist before. This helps create a unique identity for the two themes while still maintaining a consistent branding. I mean, you can look at both of these and see that they belong to the same app, the same company, the same product, but they're both unique color variations on the same idea. Now, one of the things I mentioned before was you can't just invert colors, because if you do that, you ruin the visual hierarchy or the color order. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at these images, or even if we just go back a slide, certain parts of these are going to draw your eye. You know, your eye is drawn here, and then here, and then here. And you can see that in these applications themselves. Right, if we look over here, our eye is drawn first to the prominent accent color of the app, and that's this card title, which is the content. You know, you want to keep the content first in any application you're building. So it goes 1 here, 2. This is our secondary action on the card. It allows a user to bookmark this potential short story that they could read. So that's another action we want to highlight. We do that with the accent color. Then the third would be the title of the page they're on. This isn't a primary source of attention, despite it being a large title. The user doesn't need to know what page they're on by reading this first. They'll understand that by the content, and then they'll eventually work their way there. And then we go down to 4 and 5 for just some sub details. Now, if we invert the colors, we lose that hierarchy. So you can see that the colors have shifted to their individually unique palettes, which were done in a way that kept that numbering of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 order consistent. We have our main reading sections, it still goes 1, 2, and then 3 to the title. The title got a unique color choice to show the accent color, but because of its positioning and the prominence of this section, it is not the main source of attention, and then 4 and 5 for your subsections. So this is important when trying to shift between the light and dark palette. Make sure you understand the information in your app and what's important to the user to see first, and use that to guide where you change or don't change your colors. Now, hopefully you found some new things in this video, and if not, I encourage you to download the Figma file that I'll have in the description, which has all the different slides and variations of the application you saw throughout this slide deck. Use it to learn, one, how it was built in Figma, but two, how the colors were changed between all the different screens. There's about 5 or 6 different screens to show you some different examples as to where the colors would change and how you might approach it in different scenarios, and why each version can be unique. There are some pages where there was a dark shadow, and that shadow got changed to be a lighter shadow on different themes because those themes deserved it. You can find all this in the description, the slide deck, and the Figma file, all for free. If you liked the video, just leave a thumbs up. I appreciate it. I'm excited to hear from all of you, and I hope you're excited about the videos coming up in the future. I hope to release things more consistently. So again, thanks for supporting me while I was gone, and I hope you will continue that support while I'm here. Until next time, I'm Max.